Just past the halfway point in David Bowie's album Black Star, we are led through two compositions that appear to contain riddles. One has a lyric written in a mangled dialect consisting of English, a secret queer slang, and a made-up language originating in dystopian fiction. The other contains an elegantly dark pun in the chorus lyric, one that no one seemed to notice until it was too late, an admission from the artist himself that he was dying too. Both musical compositions, in their own different ways, communicate extra musical ideas from within their harmonic and textural construction. They explore themes of vulnerability and longing from very different perspectives. Again, we sense the artist calling back to the start of things, pulling in the direction of home. Hello, this is Leah Kardos, and this is an analysis of the song Girl Loves Me, track 5 from Black Star. This presentation is pulled from my book, Black Star Theory, The Last Works of David Bowie. Okay. The tempo of Girl Loves Me is 68 beats per minute. The tonalities are C major in the introduction, B flat minor in the verses and refrains, D flat major in the bridge and breakdown. The song form is AAB, ABA variant, so that's an intro, A section, then verse, refrain, A1, A2, and the bridge breakdown, B1, B2. It's mostly two chords and a driving beat, yet this is far from a simple composition. The harmonic territory is shrouded and ambiguous, shifting between G flat major 7th over B flat and C. It is unclear which direction the home key is, where the harmonic energy wants to go. When Bowie opens the song by intoning on C, the song also leans towards C major, suggesting Lydian modal effect between C and G flat, F sharp, feeling bright, lifted and open, and that feeling is supported by weightless pads in the background. At the entrance of the beat, the A1 section at 28 seconds, Bowie's melody shifts to a B-flat minor broken chord shape, and the track assumes a darker, more uncertain alignment, losing the open Lydian quality as the harmonic energy pulls down to B-flat minor. The bass line lingers across the bar on B-flat for 2 extra beats, clouding the change to C even further. The vocal is the force that tips the balance towards light or dark. The mysterious energy of the track is partly due to the way it teeters on this boundary. The reduction of the harmonic theme to 2 ethereal chords stuck in limbo has precedent in the catalogue, notably with Hour's B-side and Omicron soundtrack composition No One Calls from 1999, which pivots on a similar movement from E-flat minor, with the melody suggesting the E-flat diminished to F major. The vocal writing in the verse sections exploits the break in Bowie's voice at the end of the phrase, flipping from chest voice to head voice with a yelp. A vocal break is an abrupt change between vocal modes. A well-known example of a controlled vocal break is yodeling. This is a signature feature of Bowie's vocal style, heard all over the catalogue. The singing is copied by a delay effect, loosely aligned to the quarter note value, which is at around 68 beats per minute, tapping back copies of the sound in rhythm with up to 4 repetitions. In the first statement of the A section, 28 seconds, the gaps in the vocal delivery are filled with repeating, yelping echoes. The effect creates a vocal cut-up, splicing syllables together and overlapping words into rhythms that fuse with the groove. It portrays a sense that Bowie is stuck, not only in the weekly cycles of disorientation suggested by the lyric, but also trapped inside a strange reflecting environment, an unnatural echo chamber or hall of mirrors. This complexity of reflections is intensified in the return to the A section at 1 minute 24, with the new background voice repeating a spoken go, 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 go on the 8th note triplet rhythm. Words that could be heard as a rally of encouragement or a warning to get out. The chorus, A2, splits Bowie's voice into two factions. A single distant reverberated "Girl Loves Me" calls out, and is responded to with a closer proximity group of high and low layered voices singing "Hey China" on the octave. The call and answer characterizations in this section recall similar moments in African nightlife and something of the shape and colour of the "Oh by Jingo" interjections from After All.
They don't like to fall. Oh, by Jingo.
The bridge sequence, the B section, is only heard in full once at 1 minute 46 and is a moment of reprieve. Music steps upwards through changes that, for the first time, suggest a stable tonality of D-flat major. Later, at 3 minutes and 9 seconds, elements of the bridge section appear once again, only in a more deconstructed way. Unmoored from the discipline of the bass and beat, it floats up and away from any functional harmony, a ghostly cluster of D-flat and C diminished over an E-flat pedal point. A dreamy dark current with a stalking, hypnotic beat, Bowie's multitude voice spits bravado and lust trapped inside its prism. The drumming was informed by Bowie's demo, which apparently had 2 different rhythm loops laid on top of each other, making a very dense groove, which was impossible for Juliana to perform all at once. That inspired him to break it into a heavy half-time beat with complex rhythmic ghost notes on the hat and snare. Approaching the end of the track, the arrangement becomes more insistent and agitated, with fidgety snare and tom fills, the guitar and bass stubbornly poking at the same spot. The music breaks to a stop, leaving only the sound of James Murphy's synths fizzing into vapor. Taken together, the elements of the composition and its arrangement, performance and production suggest notions of uncertainty and frustration in the harmonic movement, entrapment, bewilderment and drudgery in the use of effects, rhythm and repetition. The focus on intricate and specific rhythms in the beat and vocal delivery, not to mention the hard-hitting, bottom-heavy production, are elements that flirt with the aesthetics of hip-hop, making Girl Loves Me arguably the most contemporary sounding track on Black Star and probably of the entire late period. On trend and accessible in one sense, the song is impenetrable in another. McCaslin recalled that there was a draft lyric being worked on in the studio, and a conversation went on about what an authentic slang or street language might be for someone of Bowie's generation and background.
I remember we were talking about he mentioned the Clockwork Orange language in the studio, you know. It was around the idea of spoken word and rap, and I think he might have been, you know, looking for a spoken word thing that felt authentic to him. You know, taking modern hip hop language, which wouldn't feel that, probably, I'm just assuming maybe wouldn't feel that authentic to him, although I know he was a fan, but it's like looking for this older language or this older this older slang and drawing from it. And I, you know,
the lyrics use vocabulary from 2 varieties of old slang that have connections to Bowie's youth. Polari, a secret language used by gay men and drag performers in Britain during the first half of the 20th century when homosexuality was illegal and heavily stigmatized. A useful means for conducting conversations, flirtations and gossip in open spaces without giving yourself away. The language itself, full of camp, irony, innuendo and sarcasm, also helped its speakers to form a resilient worldview in the face of arrest, blackmail and physical violence. Bowie may have picked it up amongst queer circles in his youth. His ill-fated 1968 rock opera, Ernie Johnson, reportedly had a comedy song that used it, most likely inspired by the BBC radio comedy show Round the Horn, from 1965 to 68, which popularised the lexicon with a straight audience as an introduction to camp comedy.
This is my friend Sandy. Come down, yeah.
Of course, because it's Round the Horn. I used to listen to it when I was a child.
We opened a nice little guest house. Guest house. Bona Latte. Bona Latte. As the regular Omi from Omi. Yeah. Omi from Omi, wasn't it? Yes, it was, unfortunately.
A smattering of Polari appears in the verses of Girl Loves Me. The rest of the non-English words featured in the lyric can be traced to Nadsat, the made-up street slang from Anthony Burgess's 1962 novel A Clockwork Orange. This cryptic slang is used throughout the novel by its delinquent narrator Alex and his gang of droogs, and was faithfully retained in the script of Stanley Kubrick's 1971 film adaptation.
If you need pretty Polly, you take it.
Brother, you think and talk sometimes like a little child.
Little child, yeah.
Tonight we pull a man-sized crest.
Tonight's a man-sized crest. Good! Real honor show. Initiative comes to them that way. I've taught you much, my little droogies.
Even with this knowledge, Girl Loves Me is a challenge to translate. A basic summary might look like this. Pretty girls expertly separating men from their money every day of the week, except for Monday, which is a blur. The bridge of Girl Loves Me warns someone to watch this woman's balls. You'll sleep in a prison cell. She'll relieve an old man of his money. Echoing the story of the fierce lady thief that punched like a dude in 'Tis a Pity, back on track 2.
Man, she punched me like a dude. Hold your man as I cry.
The prevailing lyrical image in a translation of Girl Loves Me is one of strong women looking after themselves and men getting only what they deserve. That the message is coded within arcane vocabulary opens interesting possibilities for queer readings of the composition. A song about outsiders to be understood by outsiders, thus the outsiders have become the exclusive inner circle. The provenance and design of the code itself, drawn from 20th century literature and counterculture, unlocks new layers of potential communicative intent. A Clockwork Orange was a formative influence on Bowie's Ziggy period, his band of droogs being the Spiders, their looks inspired in part by the gang's costumes from Kubrick's film, the bowler hats, bother boots and codpieces from designer Milena Canonero. Bowie's attraction to fashionable and beautifully dressed street thugs and wild boys was a theme running from the Spiders through to Diamond Dogs and the Gouster, right up to the Glass Spider Tour, Tin Machine and the next day's Dirty Boys. Peaky Blinders also aligns with the theme here. A gang of pretty, well-dressed criminals are trapped in cycles of street violence and revenge, traumatized by war and suffering with PTSD and addiction. Strong women, in their archetypically constrained roles, are the ones holding things together and surviving. Matriarchs, wives, sex workers, and the spy that sociopathic gang leader Thomas Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy, falls in love with, who will inevitably betray and humiliate him, but whom he later marries. O'Leary suggests even more literary references can be folded in. The chestnut tree could be the Chestnut Tree Cafe, the symbolic location of betrayal, where Winston sits after his release from being tortured at the Ministry of Love in Orwell's 1984. Or a nod towards a plot point in Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 1967 novel 100 Years of Solitude, in which the family's patriarch goes mad, stuck in a time loop of perpetual Mondays, and is eventually tied to a chestnut tree by his family and left for dead. After the bookishness of The Next Day, for Bowie to reference Burgess, Orwell and Marquez in a single song doesn't seem to be a stretch. Throw in a sprinkling of historical queer patois, and what you get is not only a cipher that can be translated, but also a clutch of references of personal significance to Bowie anchored to a specific time and place in his youth.